What's up, everyone, and welcome to Making the Shift for Autistic Kids.
We're an SLP couple from California with 4 boys.
And we're here every week to bring you neuro-affirming tips, tricks, and tools.
Are you ready to make the shift?
Let's do this.
Hello. Welcome to Making the Shift. I'm Jessie Ginsburg, if you don't know me, also known as the Sensory SLP. I am a speech language pathologist. I have a private practice in Los Angeles I've had for over 10 years, and I also train therapists and parents in neurodiversity affirming practices. Have trained tens of thousands of people all over the world. And today we are going to be talking about PECS, Picture Exchange Communication System, which is an option for AAC. And the reason that I wanted to have this conversation is because I can't even tell you how often I get parents who call our clinic to schedule. And I do a lot of calls in our office every single week with new families. And this week already, I've had 2 calls. I've had parents say, well, we're using PECS right now. And our therapists, one said our therapist doesn't think that they're ready for anything else. Another said that this was the best option for him for whatever reason. And I really just wanted all of these resources in one place so we could really talk through PECS, what it is, and what type of AAC might be a better form for a lot of our kids. So I first of all want to say, when I'm talking about PECS, Picture Exchange Communication System, that is not the same as talking about visuals. And a lot of people get that mixed up. A lot of people will say things like, oh, well, I use PECS in my sessions for whatever reason. But what they really mean is I use visual supports, right? Like if you have a book and you have AAC symbols printed onto your book to adapt the book, that doesn't mean that that is a PECS book. That's just a visual support within a book. So I think we need to make sure that we are not using the word PECS when we mean the word visual supports, because there is a lot of confusion there. Okay, so first let's talk about what the 6 phases of PECS are. I think that a lot of people jump to say don't use PECS and don't even realize what the 6 phases are. I was actually trained in PECS many years ago, and I used it. Full disclosure, this is something that was very commonly used when I first started out in my practice. Our entire clinic was trained at the same time, and this was something that was very commonly used. It's been many, many years now since I actually have used it because I feel like we found better options. Okay, but PECS has 6 different phases. So the first phase is where you use hand over hand and you teach a child to pick up a picture card of something that they want, something to request, and then hand it to an adult. Okay, so handing a picture over to an adult. And this is something I've done this phase so many times where hand over hand it to the person. That's what they're learning. And then the person immediately gives them the thing that is being requested. It's just like teaching them that exchange. Phase 2 is having the child actually go and walk to their communication book, get the picture, and then take the picture to the person. Okay, so a little bit farther of a step. They have to actually go to their communication book, get the picture, and give it to a person. I remember supporting these twin girls in their classroom when they were on this step where they had their communication books over across the room and had to go get the things that they were asking for. Okay, phase 3 is discriminating between a preferred and non-preferred picture. So you would put something on the book that you knew they wanted, like bubbles, and then you would put something on the book that they didn't want, right? So it might be like shoe, bubbles, or something like that. So then the child would have to go to the book and scan back and forth and think about which is the one that I want, pick it up, bring it to the person. Okay, next is phase 4, which is sentence structure. And oh my God, I just have so many memories of these all coming up as I'm saying these things. Sentence structure, where you are basically teaching kids to create sentences on their book. So usually it's starting with I want. So it might be an I want symbol, and then a child will put something on there that they want. Okay, phase 5 is responding to questions. So asking them something like, what do you want? And then them picking a picture and answering the question. And then the last phase is commenting. So that's really commonly used also with sentence starters, like I see, I hear, like maybe you're reading a book with a child and you have the I see in front of them, and then you're swapping out the pictures of different things that they're seeing to teach them that. Okay, so now that we have covered those phases, let's talk about considerations, what we should think about when we are choosing AAC for a child. Okay, so the first problem we see with PECS that makes it less of an ND affirming approach is that it requires a lot of hand over hand, right? We know that there's a big push in neurodiversity affirming practices for kids to have bodily autonomy, meaning they have governance over their own bodies. They are not being forced to do things. And if anything, some people might use hand underhand where they are just helping the child to guide. But hand over hand is really, big no right now. A lot of people talking about it. It's all the rage. No, just kidding. No, but it is a big thing. Everyone is trying to move away from this hand over hand prompting. And that's such a big part of PECS, which makes it difficult to, say that the whole program is neurodiversity affirming. So a second big thing to think about is how labor intensive this is. I mean, this is, and some of you are probably going back to your days of when you actually would use this. Like you have a new game or you have a new food the child likes, and now you have to print it, right? Versus you have an AAC program on an iPad, you can get a new symbol on that iPad in 10 seconds, right? This is like print, cut, laminate, put a piece of Velcro on the back. It's really is labor intensive. So it takes a lot of time. You can't just like be in the middle of a session or be at home and then realize a child likes something and then get them that picture immediately. It's just something that takes a time to put together. 3, I really feel like it's just not a good long-term solution. I know a lot of people, parents at least, when they are introduced to PECS from therapists say, we're going to use this until they're ready for a device. And we have to know that there are no prerequisites to using devices. In our clinic, I've said this many times, we have plenty of kids who are 2 years old using AAC devices and iPads with AAC programs. Okay, so age is not a factor. There are really no factors. There's nothing that should be getting in the way of us allowing kids and introducing kids to more dynamic AAC devices earlier on. Okay, so there is not a prerequisite to that. So PECS is not a prerequisite to being able to use any type of AAC. And I think what happens is that parents get told that their kid is going to do this for as long as they need to. And it unfortunately takes years before the parent realizes like, okay, is this actually what's next here? Because I don't see us moving anywhere. Okay. And that brings me to my next point, and there are 2 more, which is the next point is that it often results in a lot of requests. It results in us targeting so many requests because so many of the phases are just about making requests, right? And we have to realize there are lots of functions of language. There are many reasons that we want to talk to people, and it's not always to ask something. Okay, imagine you come home from work and you could only talk to your partner by asking them for things. Okay, you couldn't be like, hey, you'll never guess what happened to me today. Or you can't say to them, I love you so much, right? Or good night. It's like you can only make requests. So it's very, very limiting in that sense. And unfortunately, I rarely see kids actually moving past the requesting stage. Like that is something that I personally have not seen in my experience very often. So although it's was designed by well-intentioned people. And I always like to say that because anytime anyone has dedicated their life to creating approaches to help kids and neurodivergent learners, like that's a very honorable and incredible thing, right? And I don't want to dismiss that. So although it was created with good intentions in order to help kids progress, I have personally rarely see kids move past that requesting stage. Okay, and last point I will make is that it does not support Gestalt language development, right? Because one thing we don't want to do is, first of all, just teach I want. We know also with our Gestalt language processors that we generally want to introduce them to phrases in the initial stages as opposed to single words. And if we do too much with single words and we do too much requesting with single words, they can get what is called stuck single words. So they can get to the point where they have this big vocabulary of a lot of words, but they're not moving those words into phrases and sentences. And with our Gestalt language processors, we really want to set them up and give them a communication system that works with their style of language learning. And when we are just working on single words and then we're moving to I want, all that results in for a lot of kids is just getting stuck on single words or getting stuck on the I want phrase. And we have all had kids get stuck there. And this is not a fun place to be. It is a very hard thing to move out of. And that's just how, unfortunately, PECS was designed. It was not designed, with Gestalt language processors in mind, whereas AAC devices can easily be programmed so that they can suit the learning needs of Gestalt language processors. So overall, if you can't tell, PECS is something that, I have moved away from, we have moved away from in our practice, and we really don't recommend that kids use it. And that's just because we learn, we grow, new solutions come about, and that's just how it is. We have to adapt and change. And right now, an iPad, I just talked about this on social media. I was shocked. I went in to get an iPad. It was like $350. And then you can get these AAC apps on sale. A lot of them are on sale this month for $150. $500, you can get an iPad that, I don't know about you guys, the iPads that I've had have lasted years. We have iPads that have lasted like 5 years. Okay, so it's a lot more affordable. There's obviously a lot of other funding options if that's something that you want to learn more about. But overall, PECS is just not something that we have used. But I will say that I have an event. And if you want to learn more about AAC and how to implement AAC in your speech sessions while also helping kids with regulation, we are doing a free event. This will be the last free event of the year, and it will probably be the last one for a while because you guys know I'm like getting more and more pregnant by the day, and we're not planning much for the beginning of the year as of right now. So if you want to come to our last free training of the year, it is going to be all about how SLPs can use sensory strategies, but we have a whole special section on implementing AAC and how you can use AAC in your sensory-based sessions, because I know that that is something that can really trip people up. So we're going to be talking all about that. Like I said, totally free. We would love to see you there. I will put a link below so that you can join us. Make sure to save your free seat. And I'm very excited to talk to you then about what other great options there are for AAC for our kids. All right, everyone, thanks for being here. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to Making the Shift. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to us if you could like, subscribe, share it with a friend. Our only goal is to spread neurodiversity affirming approaches all over the world, and we can only do that with your help. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.